June 22nd, 1940. In a forest clearing at Compiègne, Adolf Hitler stood before a railway carriage. The very same carriage where 22 years earlier Germany had signed its surrender. Hitler had ordered the carriage extracted from a museum to replicate the scene of Germany's greatest humiliation, a humiliation dictated by one man, Marshal Ferdinand Foch.
Upon the signing of the Treaty of Versailles in 1919, Foch famously said, "This is not peace, it's an armistice for 20 years." This prophecy proved correct. Exactly 20 years, 2 months and 4 days from the signing, the Second World War began.
Today we will look at who stands behind the statues in Paris and London. We will examine the myth of the Generalissimo. Was he a war hero who led the Allies to victory, or a butcher who turned out to be in the right place at the right time?
Today we will answer this question.
Ferdinand Foch was born on October 2nd, 1851 in Tarbes, France, to a middle-class, devoutly Christian family. From a young age, he was fascinated by military history and the stories of his maternal grandfather, who had served under Napoleon I. The Franco-Prussian War of 1870 served as a pivotal moment. He enlisted at age 19, but the conflict ended before he could see active combat.
However, he witnessed the Prussian war machine crush France and saw the loss of Alsace-Lorraine, a national amputation that left a deep psychological scar on his generation.
Foch entered the École Polytechnique in 1871 and was commissioned as an artillery officer in 1874, graduating with distinction. Following a decade of service in various garrisons, he entered the École Supérieure de la Guerre, War College, in 1885 for advanced training. In October 1895, Foch transitioned into a prominent role as an educator and military theorist, appointed as Assistant Professor of Strategy and General Tactics at the War College. Over the next 6 years, he became a chief professor and established himself as a master of French tactical science. During this period, he published his influential lectures in 2 major works: The Principles of War and The Conduct of War.
Although his religious convictions and doctrinal views may have slowed promotion, he was appointed director of the War College in 1907, a position he held until 1911. He was promoted to General of Division in 1911 and took command of the 20th Army Corps at Nancy in 1913, placing him in a key frontier position at the outbreak of World War I.
When the Great War erupted, Foch commanded the 20th Iron Corps at Nancy. While French armies collapsed along the frontier, Foch held the line. His defense of the Grand Couronne prevented the Germans from rolling up the French right flank, earning him a reputation as a fighter who thrived in chaos. Desperate to stop the German drive on Paris, Commander-in-Chief Joseph Joffre gave Foch command of the newly formed 9th Army. They were thrown into the marshes of Saint-Gond, the pivot point of the Battle of the Marne. It was here that the legend was born. Battered by the German Imperial Guard, his troops exhausted, Foch reportedly sent a message to headquarters that has echoed through history. "My center is yielding. My right is retreating. Situation excellent. I am attacking."
While the exact wording is debated by historians, the sentiment was real. Foch's refusal to break and his obsession with counterattacking even when outnumbered fixed the German forces in place, allowing the French and British to exploit the gap in the enemy lines. The miracle of the Marne saved France, and Foch was hailed as one of its saviors.
But victory exacted a terrible personal price. Just days before the battle climaxed, Foch received news that his son and his son-in-law had both been killed in action. For Foch, a devout Catholic who rarely showed emotion, this was a serious blow. The man of iron had a heart, but he locked it away to lead the war. Following the victory at the Marne, Joffre appointed Foch as his deputy to coordinate the disparate Belgian, British and French forces during the race to the sea. His iron will was credited with preventing a British retreat and stopping the German advance at the First Battle of Ypres. As commander of the group of armies of the North, Foch presided over the Artois offensive of 1915 and the Battle of the Somme in 1916. However, his strategy of aggressive, unrelenting attacks proved costly and ineffective against modern German defenses. The hero of the Marne was branded a failure. In December 1916, he was quietly removed from command. He was 65 years old. His career seemed over. But the Allies were running out of talent. After the disastrous year of 1917, Foch was brought back as chief of the General Staff. In this role, he functioned primarily as a strategic and diplomatic advisor. He notably assisted in stabilizing the Italian front after the catastrophic defeat at Caporetto in late 1917. But then came the crisis. In March 1918, the German spring offensive forced the Allies to appoint Foch as supreme Allied commander to unify their strategic direction. They needed one man to coordinate the defense, one man with the ego and the will to command the British Field Marshal Haig and the American General Pershing. They chose Foch. This appointment paved the way for his global fame. He successfully blunted the German momentum by July 1918 and was promoted to Marshal of France on August 6th. Foch then masterminded the 100 Days Offensive, a series of rolling sequenced attacks that gave the German High Command no time to recover. This strategy, which coordinated infantry, tanks, aircraft and artillery, broke the Hindenburg Line and led directly to the German collapse. On November 11, 1918, Foch accepted the German surrender at Rétende in the forest of Compiègne. After the war, Foch served as a key advisor during the Paris Peace Conference, where he entered a bitter dispute with Prime Minister Georges Clemenceau. Foch insisted that the Rhine River must become Germany's permanent military frontier to ensure French security, but he was eventually forced to accept a compromise. Upon seeing the final terms of the Treaty of Versailles, he famously prophesied, "This is not a peace, it's an armistice for 20 years."
So how do we judge Ferdinand Foch today? To his critics, he remains the butcher, a general whose pre-war theories of willpower cost France a generation of young men. He was arrogant, abrasive and often tactically blunt. But to his defenders and to history, he was the indispensable man. When the Allied line was breaking in 1918, it was Foch's sheer energy that held it together. He was the only man capable of uniting the French, British and American armies into a single fighting force. He was also a hero to Poland, receiving the title of Marshal of Poland for his support of the nation's independence during the peace talks and the subsequent Polish-Soviet War.
Foch lies today in Les Invalides, near Napoleon. He learned to exploit emerging combined arms warfare through delegation and coordination rather than inventing it himself. He was a general who learned from his bloody mistakes to deliver the ultimate victory.
Genius or butcher? Perhaps in the realities of the Great War you had to be a little bit of both to survive and to forge yourself in history.